Hello, welcome back to another episode of my Garage podcast. It's been a while since I last posted. I've been doing a lot of the same, what I've been doing all summer, just kind of a lot of nothing. I've just been hanging out with friends, getting ready for school in the fall, technically. I don't start till like September. Next month, I have to go to orientation. That I'm a little nervous about, but I should be able to figure it out. It was cool. I last Thursday went to a new golf course, and that was pretty cool. I met up with this friend that I known for a while, but never really hung out with school. It was pretty cool to see him and kind of talk to each other. And then I met two of his friends, and that was cool. Um, and I just I think I've also been a little stressed because school's gonna start soon. Because I feel like it's kind of coming up fast, and then the next thing I know, I'm starting. Like I think it's already been like 5 weeks since I've started summer break, and it's a little nerve wracking, but it feels like time has gone by fast. But also, I'm trying to enjoy as much as I can because things are always gonna happen, and I just gotta make the best of what time I do have. So that has been stressing me out, but it's getting a little better. And I think I realized it this like how fast time has been going is it helps me realize how short life is, and I should take every opportunity and make the best of what I have and work hard towards reaching what I want, because all these like small steps, it may seem like really not menial, but it like builds up to these big things. And I think it's hard because I also have to balance taking a break and doing stuff that's important, but it's something that I have to learn to manage. I like because there's times where I just like I don't want to do anything because it's summer break, but then it's important because I want to make new memories and hang out with my friends and have closer relationships. And I would say I've been getting a little stressed and worried about things, but it's mainly things that do not matter, or there's I'm worrying about things that will never happen. I watched this video and I'm not sure how accurate it is because the person who said it's not really trustworthy, or he's kind of a I don't know, just a joke, like kind of a degenerate, but I feel like the message still stands. And it was like this he was saying this he was quoting this Harvard study that said something around like 90% of the things that we worry about might never happen, and I feel like that's really true. So now when I'm worrying or getting anxious about what I'm doing, I try to check in with myself and see if what I'm doing aligns with myself and what I'm comfortable with. And most of the time, it's like I'm worrying about practically nothing. And sure, there may be times where I'm worrying and it's justified because I'm worrying about the situation, but I always try to check in with myself because I can only really control myself and what I do and how I react to a situation. And I always try to react calmly because once I start to freak out, it just ruins it. Another thing I've been trying to do more is just like sitting with these feelings, like when I get anxious, and not just like trying to get a distraction, like going on my phone or playing video games. It's like I try to face it because the longer it stays, the more time I waste, because it's like it's it's taking time away from what I really want to do because I'm worrying about how I can start it or how what I'm doing. And sure, this may like it's easier to say, and I'm still working towards becoming more comfortable with myself and the choices I make, but I've been oh, sorry, I thought I saw somebody or heard somebody, but I've just been trying to learn more about myself and be comfortable and try to take more risk and be braver about how I am. And I just overall, I want to be okay with what I'm feeling, because that voice that's telling me I can't do it or it's not going to work out, it isn't always me. It might be the voices of others telling me what not to do, or past experiences, or just fear in general. But once I'm able to sit with that feeling, I'm able to reason and move past it. Sure, it takes a lot, but way more important that I face it instead of trying to run away from it. But this is what I've learned for myself, and I just wanted to share this because if you're going through something similar, I always like to believe there's light at the end of the tunnel. I try to be as positive as I can, even with certain situations. And I don't know, I've been trying to take more risks, and because I realize how short life is and how long I've been how like like how do I say this? How long I've been worrying about nothing, when like kind of self-sabotaging, where I denied myself opportunities because I felt like I wasn't good enough, or I shouldn't have done it, or just because I'm scared. And I feel like I've spent so much time being scared, and I just kind of, I wouldn't say waste because that's a really extreme version, but I've missed out on opportunities because of fear. And the more that I fear things, it's hard because I know I can do so much, and there's so many people that believe in me, and it's just really hard sometimes. Another thing that I want to say, or that kind of has less to do with what I've been talking about, but it's been really hot. So trying to, I guess, kind of in being inside my house, it's fine because we have fans, but it's still a little hot. But once I go outside, it's just like impossible to be outside because how hot it is. I like I've said, when on Thursday in the beginning, it was so hot, but because we went kind of later in the day, like we started at 2, and then we didn't end till like 7 or something. We started actually more like 3 because the tea time was like 2:50, and I got there at like 2. But that's besides the point. As the day in the beginning of the day was so hot, and as the day went on, it started to get a little cooler, and it was a little bit of a breeze. But once I got back to my car, because it was kind of parked in the sun, it was so hot. I left this drink, and it was cold when I first had it, and it was like a watermelon mango refresher from Panda Express, and that it was cold. And then at by the time I got back, it was like a hot tea, and it's just crazy how hot it's been getting. But now that I've shared how I felt, and I want to get to the main focus of this podcast and update you what what's been going on in the economy. It's been a while since I've looked into what's happened, and a lot of things have changed. And I'll share what's been going on recently as of Monday, the 13th of July. That's when I started to write this. It's now Saturday, July 18th. Yeah, 13th of July. Monday was when I started this. First, what I want to share with you is the S&P 500 and the Dow are down 0.79% and 0.26% respectively. The S&P 500 before July 10th, it was increasing. Then after on Friday around 3, it started to drop, but it is relatively fine because since March it has been steadily increasing, but around June it started to drop and be a bit rocky with value going up and down, and I'll explain later why the reason behind this. And as for the Dow, as of the 8th of July, the Dow started to drop a little bit, with Nvidia being the biggest loser, and this will be kind of foreshadowing what has been going on within markets. Um, and Nvidia I'm not exactly sure, but Nvidia since July 8th has lost around 3.5% and maybe even more now. But for the as far for the past month to year, the Dow has been performing well, and these losses are to be expected. And these losses, especially when it comes to the S&P 500, have been related to the tech sector. And it's safe to assume, because of news in the past month, this mainly has to do with AI. Because of, and alongside, it has to do with AI, and because of energy prices, because the war in Iran is still going on, even though recently there was a ceasefire, but President Trump overturned that, and I think they're going back into fighting. And I also got this information just by looking at Yahoo Finance and giving my opinions, or just looking at what's been going on in the Dow. And confirmation comes directly from Investor Business Daily, and they state that because of oil prices rising, because Donald Trump reinstated a blockade on the Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, oil prices have risen significantly, and this has resulted in investors readjusting their strategies when it comes to investing in AI. And a possible reason for this is because of rising oil prices. It might cause the Fed in upcoming meetings to increase inflation, and this affects businesses because um because it this affects businesses because it would put strain on the US economy if inflation were to increase. Furthermore, oil prices directly affect the economy by increasing the overall cost of production. Companies that are transporting goods require oil, or when it's refined gas, from boats to planes to trucks, they all use it. And when oil prices are increased, companies who use gas on large scales have a significant increase of transportation cost. And it has other effects on a smaller scale that affect local communities. I won't get too much in how it affects local communities when prices are high or low, but because I'm mainly focusing on the economy as a whole, but that's the reason I won't get into too much into that. But just keep that in mind that it affects local markets too. And the reason, I don't know if I mentioned this, but the reason that oil prices is affecting how people are investing is because of borrowing costs. And if interest rates are to rise, that means that it might be a lot harder for companies to borrow money and uh, to increase their production. And the next thing I want to talk about is in the tech market with the week coming to end. And this is, I wrote this on Friday, July 17th. Uh, the tech market, as I mentioned in the beginning of the week, it was struggling. And even now, it's struggled even more as the week comes to an end. This is my opinion. So, and please listen to all I say because I'm still learning and there's still a lot to debate. But my opinion is that I feel like this shows how, right now, how dependent markets are on tech. And this is specifically within AI, with the tech sector facing a problem, with there being $3.3 trillion, or there being a $3.3 trillion sell off since June 22nd. And semiconductors entered a bear market, meaning prices fell, which I'll explain why this happened later on. But because of major indexes such as the Nasdaq, Dow, and S&P 500, they lost on average around 1% in the past 5 days. And how fast of an impact this has given me the reason to believe how reactive markets are to AI. So say anything bad happens with AI, it just immediately drags down markets. And the next thing I want to say is, as well, what made these losses worse is that Netflix lost around 7% of its share price. And this is the result of third quarter revenue forecast. And this is not what investors were expecting. And because it's worse than what they've been projecting. And additionally, what has made the tech sector anxious is that a Chinese company unveiled, or a Chinese tech company, better yet, unveiled a new OpenAI model that is said to be the world's largest, and this could potentially rival Anthropic's Fable model. But before I get into what I have to say next, I do want to be honest and mention that even though in the past week there has been major losses and sell-offs in the tech sector, these companies are still performing way above what how they started in the beginning of 2026. So even though there still may be losses right now, it's still better than they've done. They're still doing better than they've done in the beginning of the year. And now the information that I'm about to share is from ABC News. So I just wanted to share that before I got into it. One reason for the sell off is that investors are selling their shares in order to get profit. This is done after a long period of increasing prices that result in the original shares gaining a large amount of money, and investors just want to cash in. Another potential answer for this sell off or better yet, tech companies this past week, the reason that they faced losses is that investors believe that, or critics believe, that the money spent on AI is not justified. Critics believe with the amount of money that is spent on AI, it should produce a large return. But based off what we've learned, this is not, a little stutter, but this does not seem to be the case. As well, with the potential increase in interest prices, it will make companies harder to borrow money. So investors are readjusting their strategies, selling shares within the tech sector, and that's a potential reason for this sell-off that has resulted in $3.3 trillion being lost within the tech sector. In turn, as well, or next, in this will make it more expensive. If interest prices are to rise, it will make it more expensive for firms to borrow money to innovate within the tech sector because of how cost intensive it is. Critics also state that people are overestimating how fast this technology will give returns, with people expecting it within years, but realistically it might be closer to decades when we will be able to see returns and revenue from this technology. And that's kind of what's been going on within the tech sector this past month, and why there's been this huge sell-off, which I haven't really mentioned. But getting into the next topic, I want to share what's been happening with SpaceX, because a month ago it was one of the biggest, it was possibly the most talked about share or stock in the past month, because of how large, or how much it IPO'd for, and it made Elon Musk a trillionaire. But SpaceX's share price has fallen significantly. When SpaceX originally did its IPO, it was considered one of the largest, and it opened with a share price of 160.95 on June 12th. Today, as of July 18th, Saturday, it is at $123.99, which may not seem a lot, but is down 22% from opening. As well, what makes this scary is that in the last episode, I mentioned that it's common for shares for an IPO to decrease as time passes, but this is usually seen months after, and this is not seen in such a short period, with it losing 22% within a month. And based on this, SpaceX's share price might even fall further than, and it might fall even further. And this is not even considered the fact that there is a lockout period where those that work within a company can't sell their shares for a certain amount of time. The reason for this is that once IPOs are first launched, companies aren't allowed, or people within a company aren't allowed to sell their shares. And that once that period is over, that the analyst or the investment banker that originally started the process decides that it's over and that lockout period's done, it may cause the stock X share price to fall even further. And the reason for this is because people within the company are selling their shares in exchange for money, and this could drive down the price down a lot, because the way that stocks are valued, it decreases the attraction of it. And when analysts reconsider this, and it drives down share prices. And if things continue this way, it could prove even further that this was a large-scale rug pull, and that this company right now, it's looking like it's been way overvalued, and that. That's somebody's coming to me, but they're walking away. But this will prove how it might even mess with markets, and just. In my opinion, I think from the very beginning, it was always a rug pull. But that's all I have for this episode. I just wanted to share that what's been going on within the economy. There's been a lot concerns with AI, and especially the fact that it's largely considered a bubble, or I largely consider it to be a bubble. So that's what we have to keep looking out. The markets are extremely fragile, and if anything major happens, it could result in something catastrophic. That's all I have to say for this video. I want to say thank you, and please continue to watch and support.